Look up tonight. Do you see that pale lantern glowing above, steady and silent? Now imagine, just for a moment, if it vanished. No moonrise, no soft silver light across the ocean, no glowing companion to watch over Earth's night. Would the tides stop breathing? Would darkness swallow the land? Would humanity even survive a sky with no moon? Tonight, as you rest, we'll drift through science, imagination, and wonder to discover what really happens if the moon disappears. Not billions of years ago, but right now in our modern world. You'll see how this silent neighbor has shaped Earth's past, how it guides our present, and how different our future would be without it. Before we begin this quiet journey, take a slow breath. Feel the stillness around you. If you enjoy these soft explorations of the cosmos, gently press the like button, subscribe to The Thoughtful Night, and tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching the moon from tonight? Whether under crowded city lights or beneath a canopy of stars, we are all bathed in the same lunar glow. Now, close your eyes and picture the moon as it is, steady, glowing, always there. Think of how it tugs at the oceans, pulling tides like a slow heartbeat, how it steadies the Earth's tilt, making seasons gentle and predictable, how it lights the paths of travelers, lovers, and dreamers. The moon has always been more than a pretty face in the night sky. It is part of Earth's very soul. But what if, tonight, that silver coin simply slipped away? What if you woke tomorrow and the moon was gone, without a sound, without a trace? How would the Earth change? How would life change? How would you feel, standing in a darkness deeper than any you've ever known? In this hour together, we'll follow the moon's story, from the fiery birth of Earth to the soft glow that watches over our sleep. We'll imagine its sudden absence, the cascading effects on tides, climate, time itself. We'll wander through quiet science and gentle speculation, never rushing, always drifting, like a dream. So settle in. Let your thoughts float as freely as moonlight on water. With each passing minute, let your eyelids grow heavier as we explore what no human has ever seen. A world with no moon. And now, our journey begins where the moon's story began. In a young Earth, hot and wild, beneath a sky with no companion. Yet, long before oceans found their rhythm, before forests stretched their green arms to the sun, Earth was a restless infant. Its surface glowed with liquid fire, a molten sea of rock swirling under a newborn sky. Asteroids and fragments from the young solar system rained down, shaping and reshaping this fragile sphere. And then, in a single violent moment, something vast collided with our planet. Scientists call it the giant impact theory. A Mars-sized body, now lost to time, slammed into early Earth with unimaginable force. The collision shattered crust and mantle, throwing molten rock and metal into orbit. These glowing fragments, hotter than any furnace, circled our planet in a fiery halo. Within weeks or months, they began to gather, pulled together by gravity's invisible hands, forming the moon. Picture that moment. Above a still cooling Earth, a molten ball hung in space, radiant and raw. Its surface churned with oceans of magma, glowing orange against the black void. As it cooled, it hardened, becoming the moon we know. Not yet gray and silent, but still alive with heat and motion. The moon did more than simply appear. It tamed the chaos of Earth's spin. Our planet once rotated so quickly that a day lasted only 6 hours. With the moon's gravitational pull acting like a cosmic brake, Earth slowed down. Days lengthened, nights became steady, and the wild wobble of our axis softened. Instead of tumbling like a drunken top, Earth began to tilt at a gentle 23.5 degrees. just enough to give us balanced seasons, not scorching extremes or endless winters. This quiet gift of stability may be the very reason life found room to flourish. Without a moon, Earth's axis might swing wildly over time, throwing climates into disarray. One millennium, ice might bury the equator. Another, deserts could scorch the poles. But with the moon's steady hand, Earth's tilt remained calm, and life learned to grow under predictable skies. The moon also sculpted the oceans. As gravity pulled at Earth's waters, it created tides, the slow breathing of the sea. Early life clung to tidal pools, learning to crawl, to adapt, to evolve. Some scientists believe these rhythmic changes in water level may have given the first organisms their push from sea to land. In a quiet, unseen way, the moon nurtured our distant ancestors long before we walked upright. Imagine Earth without this companion during its earliest days. A faster spin would whip storms around the globe. Sunlight would come and go in dizzying bursts. The axis, tilting unpredictably, would make seasons erratic, punishing any fragile form of life that dared to emerge. In such a world, stability, the kind that nurtures forests, oceans, and humans, might never have arrived. But because of the moon, Earth grew calm. The seas pulsed in harmony. As climate softened, days stretched into the familiar 24-hour rhythm that governs our lives even now. The moon, silent and constant, was there from the beginning, a guardian no one knew they needed. Think of the first humans looking up, long before science explained the night. They saw a glowing face rising over the horizon, lighting the savannah, guiding their steps. They built stories around it, marked time by its changing shape, and gave it power in their myths. Yet even then, without knowing why, they lived in a world shaped by the moon's unseen pull. From fiery birth to quiet guidance, the moon has always been more than decoration. It is a stabilizer, a clock, a tidemaker, and perhaps even a life-giver. Without it, Earth's history would have been written very differently, if it had been written at all. And so, the moon hangs above us still, circling patiently, holding Earth steady as it has for over 4 billion years. But what if it simply slipped away now, not billions of years ago, but tonight? Dusk settles quietly, as it always does. Streetlights blink on, windows glow, and the night feels ordinary until you look up. The familiar lantern that has followed humankind through every chapter of its history is gone. The moon, always faithful, has simply vanished. At first, it seems like a trick of the clouds. You scan the sky for a pale arc, a sliver of silver, a soft halo behind the haze. Nothing. The stars appear brighter, yes, but the night feels hollow, as if someone has taken the heartbeat out of the sky. Most people wouldn't notice immediately. In cities, neon and headlights drown the heavens in artificial glow. But in quiet places, lonely deserts, silent forests, calm seas, the absence would be unmistakable. Travelers at sea would feel it first. For thousands of years, the moon guided sailors with its path across the waves. Without it, the ocean horizon would vanish into perfect blackness, and navigation would feel like drifting blind. The darkness deepens in a way our modern eyes have rarely known. Even a crescent moon brightens the ground 10 times more than starlight alone. On a moonless night, a country road becomes ink. A familiar backyard turns into shadow. Imagine walking outside and being unable to see your own hand until it touches your face. For ancient humans, such darkness stirred fear. Before cities and firelight, the moon was a protector. Its glow gave hunters a path, kept predators in view, and comforted the lonely around their small fires. Without it, the world becomes what it once was, a realm where every rustle is a threat, every shadow uncertain. But this isn't just about human feelings. Astronomers can measure how much light is lost. A full moon reflects enough light to cast clear shadows, bright enough to read by if your eyes adjust. Take that away, and you're left with the faint glow of stars alone, more than 100 times dimmer. Even in the countryside, the ground would vanish beneath your feet, and the sky would feel immeasurably deep. Imagine lovers waiting to meet under a moonlit sky. The poetry of night walks, the soft glow on water, the romantic light on faces, gone. Entire traditions, festivals, and calendars would feel strangely empty. For centuries, farmers planned harvests by the moon. Poets wrote verses to its pale beauty. Its phases mark time for civilizations long before mechanical clocks. In a single night, that shared connection would vanish. Children looking up would ask questions no parent could answer easily. Where did it go? Will it come back? And though adults might reassure them, deep down the unease would linger. Humanity has never known a world without the moon. Wildlife would sense the change instantly. Nocturnal animals that use moonlight to forage would stumble in confusion. Prey animals, once protected by dim light, would either hide longer or risk moving in darkness. Predators that rely on vision, not scent, would hunt blindly. In just one night, the delicate balance of the nocturnal world would tilt. On the oceans, fishermen would see stars but not their own reflection in the water. In forests, owls would glide through air thicker with shadow. And in cities, though lights would still glow, the quiet watchers, those who look up from rooftops and balconies, would feel an emptiness they couldn't name. The first night without a moon would be quiet, yes, but also deeply unsettling. For some, the darkness would be peaceful, a chance to see the Milky Way in sharp relief, to gaze at stars usually hidden by lunar light. But even that beauty would feel wrong, because the moon is not simply an object in space. It is our companion. Its cycles are written in human memory, carved into stone calendars, mirrored in our language, reflected in our music and art. Imagine waking tomorrow to news anchors saying what you already know. The moon is gone. Scientists on television try to explain. Astronomers speak of gravitational balances, of tides and orbital mechanics. Yet all their calm words cannot mask the wonder and the fear in their voices. The first night passes. People sleep uneasily, if at all. Some step outside to see the blackened sky. Others close their curtains tight. There are no moonlit paths for late wanderers, no silver glow on lakes, no lantern above the horizon to keep watch. And yet, this is only the beginning. The absence of the moon does not end with darkness. It is only the first ripple in a pond whose waters will soon stir violently. The night sky may feel strange, but Earth itself will soon notice something far deeper than missing light. But the darkness is only the beginning. The ocean has always breathed with the moon. Twice a day, every coastline inhales and exhales as water swells and recedes, pulled by that distant companion in the sky. But tonight, with no moon to guide it, the sea lies still. Its rhythm falters. The great heartbeat of the planet slows to a faint and unfamiliar pulse. The tides are not gone entirely. The sun still pulls on Earth's oceans, but they shrink to a shadow of what they once were. Solar tides are weak, barely a third of what the moon creates. Instead of waves rushing far up a beach and slipping back again, the waterline would only shift slightly, almost unnoticeable to the casual eye. A fisherman watching from the shore might wonder why the sea no longer creeps so high at dawn or retreats so far by nightfall. In shallow bays and estuaries, where life depends on constant motion, the change would be devastating. Tiny crabs, clams, and worms that wait for water to cover them would be left stranded. Creatures that follow the moon's signal to spawn, like certain fish, turtles, and corals, would lose their ancient calendar. Entire ecosystems tuned to the pull of the moon would fall out of step. Picture the great coastal wetlands that rim continents like green lace. These tidal marshes breathe in and out with the moon, cleansing themselves as water rises and falls. Without the strong pulse of lunar tides, their water would stagnate. Salt and waste would linger. Birds would find fewer fish and fish fewer places to hide. The quiet disappearance of tides would ripple through the entire food chain, unseen by most but catastrophic for many. Far offshore, deep beneath the waves, the moon's pull stirs powerful underwater currents. These invisible rivers of water carry nutrients from the deep to the surface, feeding plankton, the foundation of marine life. Without the moon, those currents weaken. The sea becomes less fertile, its food web thinner, its abundance dimmed. Even humans would feel the change. Coastal communities have relied on tides for thousands of years, timing fishing, navigation, and even the building of harbors. Imagine ships stranded where water no longer rises high enough to lift them. Imagine low-tide mudflats never clearing fully, leaving ports choked and shallow. In some places, centuries-old traditions like harvesting seaweed by the full moon would vanish overnight. But the tides do more than feed and guide. They also protect. By constantly moving water along coastlines, they sweep away pollutants and prevent stagnation. Without their cleansing motion, algae blooms would grow thicker. Estuaries could become oxygen-starved dead zones. The very edge where ocean meets land, a place of eternal motion, would turn still, its life fading. The moon has been pulling on Earth's waters for 4.5 billion years. That gentle tug slowed our planet's spin, stretched our days, and carved deep tidal pools where early life may have taken its first steps toward land. Some scientists believe that without strong tides, complex life might never have evolved. Now imagine those tides fading away, leaving only the weak pull of the distant sun. Stand on a moonless beach in this imagined world. The sand stays damp where it should have dried. The waves lap softly, never surging high, never falling far. The great ocean, usually so alive with motion, feels like it's holding its breath. You wait for the tide to turn, but it barely moves. The sea seems less like a living thing and more like a sleeping giant. At first, the change might feel peaceful. No dramatic floods at high tide. No water rushing over rocks. But this calm is a warning. The loss of strong tides means a loss of energy in the Earth-ocean system. And when energy disappears from nature, balance disappears with it. We are creatures of land, so we rarely notice how much of life depends on the ocean's pulse. But billions of organisms do, and many live by the moon's clock. When coral reefs spawn, they release clouds of life timed exactly with lunar cycles. When certain fish migrate, they do so under the light of full moons. When sea turtles crawl ashore to lay their eggs, they choose nights guided by lunar tides. Take away the moon, and these ancient rhythms scatter like birds startled from a tree. Even the weather would feel the change. Tides mix ocean waters, distributing heat around the globe. Without them, currents slow, temperatures shift, and climates drift away from what we've known. Storms may grow harsher in places that once were mild, and coasts once protected by steady tidal motion could erode faster, reshaped by winds rather than waves. The sea, once a faithful follower of the moon, becomes restless in its own way, too still in some places, too unpredictable in others. It loses the steady breath that has guided it for eons. In a single night, the absence of the moon silences the ocean's heartbeat. Yet this is only one of many changes Earth will face. Water grows still, ecosystems weaken, and the very edges of our continents suffer. But the greater danger is not just in the tides. It lies deeper in the very balance of our spinning world. If the oceans lose their rhythm, how would the land respond? High above our world, the moon has always done more than shine. It has acted as an anchor, holding Earth steady as it spins through space. Without it, that anchor slips free, and our planet begins to sway. Earth does not rotate perfectly upright. Its axis tilts about 23.5 degrees, giving us the seasons. The moon's gravity stabilizes this tilt, keeping it from drifting too far. Without the moon, there's nothing to keep that angle fixed. Over thousands, even millions of years, Earth would begin to wobble like a slowing top. Imagine the planet leaning farther toward the sun, then tilting back again, its orientation wandering without warning. At times, the poles might face almost directly at the sun, plunging the equator into cold while the polar regions bake in endless summer. At other times, the tilt might shrink, making Earth nearly upright and robbing us of strong seasonal changes altogether. This isn't a sudden disaster. You wouldn't wake up tomorrow to find winter where summer should be. But over long stretches of time, climates would swing violently. The steady rhythm of spring, summer, autumn, and winter would dissolve. Regions that were once fertile could turn to desert. Ice sheets could expand over areas that were once lush and green. Farmers would be among the first to struggle. Crops depend on predictable seasons. A planet with a wandering tilt would bring planting calendars to ruin. A valley that once produced wheat for centuries might suddenly find its soil frozen under snow, while land near the poles, briefly warmed, could grow crops never seen there before. Civilizations would have to migrate with the changing climates, chasing the temperate zones as they drifted across the map. Forests would vanish and reappear in strange places. Deserts would bloom, only to wither again. Animals would either adapt to these shifting worlds or vanish altogether. The quiet order Earth has known for billions of years would become chaos. Even the skies would look different over the ages. Today, Earth's axis points steadily toward the North Star, Polaris. Without the moon, that pointing wanders. Future generations would look up and see different stars at the celestial pole. Ancient navigators once relied on steady stars and steady seasons. A world without lunar stability would offer neither. The science behind this is gentle but powerful. The moon's mass exerts a gravitational pull that dampens Earth's wobble, a motion scientists call precession. With no moon, the gravitational nudges from the sun and planets would dominate. Earth's tilt could vary by tens of degrees. On Mars, which has no large moon to stabilize it, the tilt has swung between 15 and 35 degrees. Our own world could behave the same way. Picture humanity living under such a sky. Imagine building cities only to abandon them centuries later when the climate turns against you. People might follow shifting belts of rain like migrating birds, always on the move to escape cold or heat. Maps would no longer describe nations, they would describe seasons, always sliding, never still. For most of Earth's history, this tilt stability has been a quiet gift. It allowed ice ages to come and go on predictable cycles, guided by other cosmic rhythms. Life evolved knowing roughly where warm and cold would fall. The moon kept that balance, and in doing so, it gave our species the steady home we rarely think about. But now, in this imagined world without it, Earth sways slowly in space. Over generations, children would grow up under skies their grandparents would hardly recognize. Winds would shift. Oceans would trade places between warm and cold. Entire coastlines might become unlivable, while frozen tundras thaw into grasslands. only to freeze again 1,000 years later. In quiet moments, think of the Earth as a cradle holding life. The moon keeps that cradle from rocking too wildly. Without it, the cradle tips and sways, spilling life into harsh new corners of the planet. Humanity would survive, but not without constant adaptation, constant migration. The Earth would no longer feel like home in the way it does now. This change would not come with roaring waves or cracking skies. It would come softly, as centuries pass, felt in the slow march of forests dying back and rivers shifting course. Our calendars would no longer match the heavens. The steady cycle that governed life for billions of years would become unpredictable. And yet, standing on a moonless night now, you would see nothing of this to come. The air feels the same, the stars still shine, but the planet itself, deep beneath your feet, has lost its guiding hand. The wobble has begun. As Earth leans without warning and the seasons lose their anchor, we begin to wonder, what else will slip away in a world without its moon? As our seasons lose their anchor, what else would slip away? The moon was never just a companion in the heavens. It was a stabilizer, a cosmic hand that held Earth steady as life took its first breath. Without it, the rhythm of days and nights persists, but the melody has changed. You can feel it not as a single catastrophic blow, but as a subtle trembling in the background of existence, the kind you notice only when you pause to listen. The tides no longer march in their familiar cadence. Coastal regions, once predictable, now find themselves at the mercy of smaller, weaker tides driven by the distant sun. The great tidal pools shrink, their boundaries uncertain. Crabs scuttle across rocks that no longer know when to flood and when to drain. The delicate nurseries of fish and mollusks dry too soon or stay submerged too long. The ocean's edge, once a reliable metronome, now ticks irregularly, as though Earth itself has forgotten how to keep time. Far inland, few notice at first. Farmers still plant seeds in spring and harvest in autumn. Cities still hum with electric light, indifferent to the night sky. But slowly, the consequences ripple outward. The moon once governed more than tides. It whispered guidance to countless creatures who depended on its glow. Sea turtles that crept ashore under full moon light to lay eggs now emerge under unpredictable darkness. They turn in confusion, following the glow of distant street lamps instead of the missing silver path across the waves. Birds that migrated by lunar cue veer off course, their ancient maps erased from the heavens. And then there is the wobble. The missing moon has set Earth's axis adrift, tilting gently but without guidance. It does not happen overnight, nor even within a single generation, yet the effect is inevitable. The seasons grow less reliable. Winters in one hemisphere become harsher, while summers blaze hotter than memory allows. Crops fail where they once thrived. Forests wither on lands that can no longer promise steady rain. The planet is still alive, still turning, but its heartbeat is irregular, skipping beats, racing at odd intervals. You walk through a familiar landscape and sense something is off. Shadows fall in strange places, the air tastes different, and the dusk seems to arrive too early or too late. It's not your imagination. Earth's axial dance has changed, and the choreography of climate shifts with it. The polar ice caps, once anchored by the moon's steadying presence, begin to melt faster in one era, only to rebuild thicker in the next, like a breath taken in uneven gasps. Life, however, is stubborn. It bends, it adapts. Humans learn to watch the sun more closely, to track stars that are still loyal in their positions. Ancient methods of navigation, long forgotten in a world flooded with GPS signals, find new meaning. But not all species can adapt so easily. Tiny plankton, sensitive to the faintest changes in light, lose their synchronized blooms, sending ripples up the food chain. Coral reefs, timed to spawn with the lunar cycle, falter without their cosmic calendar, bleaching in waters that are now too warm, too uncertain. On land, nocturnal animals live in an unfamiliar darkness. Without moonlight to guide them, predators stalk in deeper shadow, their eyes gleaming in starlight alone. Prey animals cower longer, too afraid to emerge. The balance of ecosystems shifts. Some species flourish in the new blackness, while others vanish quietly, their absence marked only by silence where there was once a rustle or a call. For humans, the change is as psychological as it is physical. The moon has always been a mirror for our wonder, a pale lantern reminding us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. Poets once wrote by its light. Lovers once swore oaths under its soft gaze. Now the night sky feels emptier, more alien. We look up and see stars, countless and sharp, but the familiar face is gone. The darkness is deeper, and with it comes a sense of vulnerability, as if the universe has turned its eyes away. Still, there is resilience in every corner of the planet. Farmers begin to read the soil instead of the seasons. Fishers learn to track the sun's weaker tides. Children grow up never knowing what it was like to see a full moon rising, and so they fear nothing missing. Humanity, ingenious and restless, compensates with tools, with models, with careful planning. We can predict Earth's wobble, chart its shifting climate, even control artificial tides in harbors. But in doing so, we are reminded of something profound. How much of life's harmony once depended on a silent partner we never truly thanked. Somewhere on a lonely shore, an elderly man stands watching the waves. He remembers when the ocean once rose and fell as faithfully as breath, when the moon painted silver paths for lovers to follow home. Now the sea glints only under the dim wash of distant starlight. The man closes his eyes and listens, not to the ocean, but to Earth itself. It is still alive, still beautiful, still home. But the rhythm is new, unfamiliar, uncertain. You lie down again in this altered world, feeling the ground steady but subtly shifting beneath you. The stars are cold pinpricks of light. The darkness between them seems endless. And as you drift to sleep, you wonder, not with fear, but with quiet awe, how life will continue to dance under a sky that has lost its moon. You wake again in this moonless earth, and the sky is no kinder than before. Dawn comes too soon, racing across the horizon as if chased by something unseen. The nights are still dark, star-studded and deep, but they are shorter now, subtly, almost imperceptibly at first. The earth is no longer locked in the slow dance the moon once guided. Freed from that lunar tug, our planet begins to spin a little faster, like a skater pulling in her arms. This is no sudden blur. You would not see trees bending from centrifugal force, nor oceans flying off into the void. The change is gentle but relentless, measured not in minutes per day at first, but in heartbeats, in the soft ticking of a cosmic clock you cannot hear. And yet, over centuries, the difference adds up. The moon has always been Earth's brake pedal. With its pull, it slowed our planet's youthful, wild rotation. In the very beginning, long before life took hold, a single day on Earth may have lasted only 6 hours. The moon's tidal embrace stretched that spin, bleeding off energy into heat and motion in the seas. Our 24-hour rhythm, the rising and setting of the sun we now take for granted, is a gift from that quiet, distant companion. Without it, the break is gone. Earth spins on, a little quicker, a little more eager. 24 hours become 23, then 22. Over millennia, the change would continue, slow but inexorable. Humanity would notice only when calendars failed to keep pace, when the sun seemed to run ahead of our clocks, when the patterns of agriculture and sleep strained against a world rushing past itself. Imagine living beneath that hurried sky. Your mornings would come earlier than your body remembers. The arc of day would sharpen, dawn, noon, dusk, each flowing into the next as though someone had tightened time itself. Nights, already stripped of moonlight, would grow shorter, offering less rest, less darkness in which creatures could hide. Nature feels this before we do. Plants depend on day length, the photoperiod, to bloom, to seed, to rest. A changing spin unsettles their clocks, forcing flowers to open out of season, harvests to ripen too soon or too late. Birds migrating by daylight cues would arrive before the insects hatch. Coral reefs, sensitive to the faint lunar calendar, would lose their synchrony. Their mass spawnings, once perfectly timed to the full moon, would dissolve into confusion. And you, standing barefoot on the strange, moonless earth, would feel it in your bones. Sleep would come harder under a shortened night. Your own circadian rhythm would stumble, like a dancer who has lost the beat. The stars would still wheel overhead, but faster now, dragging the hours with them. The physics is simple yet astonishing. Without the moon, Earth's spin is governed only by the faint drag of tides pulled by the sun and the whisper of winds against mountains. That drag is far weaker than the lunar pull. So instead of slowing by fractions of a second every century, as it does now, Earth would barely slow at all. It would gradually speed, a runaway dancer without a partner to temper her steps. What does a faster spin do to a world? The equator would bulge more than it does today. Oceans would creep outward slightly, making coastlines subtly different over ages. Storm systems, fed by a livelier Coriolis effect, would twist tighter, more fierce and frequent. Winds would trace sharper spirals across the globe, and currents in the sea would carve new paths, rearranging climate belts slowly, steadily, almost unnoticeably, until one day they are undeniable. Life would adapt, of course. Life always does. But it would adapt unequally. Some creatures, quick to breed and quick to change, would thrive in this restless world. Others, bound by ancient rhythms of day and night, would falter. Human history itself would bend, not in a sudden break, but as a tree leaning under a constant wind. And you, walking through this faster world, would sense its unease. You might not know the reason, but you'd feel the tempo of life quickening. The sense that days slip by like beads on a string, hard to hold, harder to count. Farmers would whisper of odd seasons. Astronomers would note the sun's strange punctuality. And deep below, the molten heart of Earth, no longer cushioned by lunar tides, would churn in subtly new patterns, though its voice would be heard only in distant earthquakes, in mountains that rise and fall by millimeters no eye can see. It is not the kind of change to shatter the world in a single night. It is the kind that rewrites history in silence. A faster Earth is not an unlivable one, just an unfamiliar one. Civilization would march on. Cities would light the darkened, shorter nights. Clocks and calendars would adjust even if the human body lags behind. We would learn to sleep less or differently. We would keep time with machines when nature no longer gives us clear signals. And yet, a subtle sadness lingers. The moon once cradled us, slowed our restless spin, gave us tides to guide the seas and a night light to soften the dark. Without it, Earth seems lonelier, not just in the sky, but in its heartbeat. Its days hurry forward, and no one is holding its hand anymore. As the wind rushes across these quickened latitudes, you tilt your face to the sun and try to measure the hours by its arc. You fail. The light moves too swiftly, slipping through your fingers like water. The night comes again, deep and empty, but not as long as it should be. And somewhere inside, you feel it. The world is spinning just a little too fast. In the next chapter, we'll follow how this change reshapes climate, seasons, and the balance of life itself. When the rhythm of Earth can no longer match the rhythm of living things. Imagine a night so clear, so profoundly still, that you can see every distant star unblinking. The Milky Way stretches like a river of frost across the heavens. But something is missing, the familiar silver coin of the moon. Without its soft glow, the sky feels strangely hollow, almost too open. And in that emptiness, faint streaks of light appear, meteors tracing fragile arcs through the blackness. They seem harmless, like sparks from a cosmic fire. But sparks can ignite forests, and in the vast, cold wilderness of space, some of these sparks are stones. Stones big enough to change the story of Earth forever. For billions of years, the moon has been more than just a light in the dark. It has acted as a quiet guardian. When asteroids and comets wandered near, its gravity tugged them off course, or absorbed the blow entirely. Think of it as a cosmic shield, a companion who steps in front of danger without asking for thanks. You can see its scars even with a simple telescope. Great craters like Tycho and Copernicus, frozen records of ancient collisions. Each one is a sign of something that never struck Earth. Each one is proof that our planet was spared. But if the moon were gone, the shield would vanish too. Earth is not defenseless, of course. Our atmosphere burns up smaller meteors in bright streaks of light. But the larger ones, those mountain-sized wanderers, are harder to stop. Over long ages, without the moon's help, more would find their way to us. The rate of impacts would rise, slowly but surely. Maybe not in our lifetime. Maybe not in the lifetime of any civilization we know. But across the deep span of geologic time, the difference would be written in stone. Picture it. A midnight field, silent except for the chirp of insects. Suddenly, the darkness blooms. A flash brighter than the sun. A distant impact throws dust into the sky, dimming daylight for months, even years. Crops fail, ecosystems stumble, entire species vanish. This is not imagination. Earth has seen it before. 66 million years ago, a rock from space erased the age of dinosaurs in a single fiery afternoon. How many more such blows would we face without our lunar guardian? But this is not meant to frighten you, only to show how deeply interconnected we are with that pale companion above. Even in its silence, even in its cold, dead rock, the moon has been part of Earth's heartbeat. It has pulled oceans, calmed the planet's spin, and taken hits on our behalf. Now, in your mind, remove it. Drift through the darkness where it used to be. See how much emptier the sky becomes. With no shield, the cosmic rain falls harder, and the night feels less like a lullaby and more like a waiting room for chance. Yet, here is a softer thought. Even without the moon, humanity would not be powerless. We have eyes to watch the heavens now, telescopes scanning for danger. We have machines that might one day nudge an asteroid off its path. We are learning, little by little, to become our own guardians. Still, the moon has been doing this job for free for billions of years. What a gift to be protected by something that never asked for thanks. What a wonder that such a distant companion has always been part of Earth's safety net. And so, as meteors streak silently overhead, you can almost feel its absence, like missing a friend who always walked you home in the dark. Without it, the journey feels lonelier. The sky feels less kind. But even if no asteroid ever comes, even if Earth sails unharmed through the black seas of space, our planet would still not remain the same. Because the moon does more than guard us, steadies us, keeps our world upright, and without it, the balance of Earth itself would slip into a long, unpredictable dance. But even if no asteroid comes, our blue planet would not stay blue forever. The moon is more than a lamp in the night sky. It is an anchor. It holds Earth steady, like a hand on the shoulder of a restless child, keeping our world from tumbling into wild moods. Without it, that quiet hand is gone. The planet begins to lean one way, then another. Its tilt, which now stays near a gentle 23.5 degrees, would wander over the ages like a ship without a rudder. 10 degrees more, 15, perhaps even past 40. Seasons would stretch and warp. Imagine walking through an ancient forest where the summer sun never sets, because Earth has leaned so far that daylight lasts for months. The air grows heavy with heat. Ice melts at the poles. Oceans swell and creep over low-lying coasts. Then, slowly, the tilt shifts again. Winters deepen into centuries-long darkness. Ice sheets march down from the poles, grinding mountains into powder. This would not happen overnight. The change would unfold over tens of thousands, even millions of years. But to Earth's creatures, to human civilizations, it would feel like a slow, relentless tide of chaos. Villages would migrate, then cities, then entire nations, always chasing a climate they could bear. Think of history written in footprints across deserts and tundras, as families move with the sun's changing mood. Think of seas once calm now frozen, and forests blooming where glaciers used to lie. No pattern, no rhythm. The deep time heartbeat of Earth, the steady pulse of ice ages every 100,000 years, would be replaced by irregular spasms. Sometimes ice, sometimes fire, never long enough to settle. This is what the moon protects us from. A world of unpredictable seasons, a climate forever restless. When you look at it now, glowing faintly in the sky, you are looking at balance made visible. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the Earth breathing without that balance. You are standing on a hill overlooking the ocean. The sky is pale green at dawn, filled with haze. The air feels too warm for winter. You dip your fingers into the water, and it tastes saltier. The seas have shrunk as new ice locks water away at the poles. A century later, the same hill is drowned beneath warm waves. Nothing holds steady. The moon gives Earth its gentle rhythm, the way a conductor keeps time for an orchestra. Without it, the symphony turns into a storm. And yet, life would endure. It always does. Perhaps new species would evolve to match the changing world. Perhaps humans would wander farther, building cities that float or travel, forever on the move. But home would no longer feel still. The sky would be a coin tossed again and again, sometimes landing on ice, sometimes on fire. As you breathe in now, feel the steady pull of gravity beneath your bed, the quiet weight of a planet that does not tumble. That stability is a gift from a neighbor 384,000 kilometers away. The moon gives us balance. Without it, balance is a dream. But what if Earth never had a moon at all? Would we even be here to dream of it? Imagine rewinding time, back past human footsteps, past the first forests, past the ocean's birth, back to when Earth itself was still glowing, molten, barely cooled from its fiery creation. Now remove one single event, the colossal impact that gave us the moon gone. Let Earth form alone, without its silent companion. What would this world be like? Would you even recognize it? Would you, in fact, even exist? Without the moon, Earth's days would have stayed short, perhaps 6 hours long, a planet spinning like a child's top, wobbling without end. With no lunar anchor, Earth's tilt would wander chaotically over eons, tilting toward the sun and then away again. Seasons would not simply come and go in their measured rhythm. They would lurch and stagger. An age of ice might last only 1,000 years, before sudden warmth baked the poles, before plunging back into snow. Imagine life trying to take root in a world so fickle. Some creatures would adapt, some would perish, but stability, the kind that lets forests spread and mammals thrive, would be rare. The tides, too, would be whispers instead of songs. The sun alone would tug at our oceans, raising small, timid ripples compared to the moon's deep, breathing waves. In our real history, those tides were nursery pools for life, shallow lagoons that filled and emptied, mixing nutrients, creating rich cradles where simple cells learned to cooperate, where complex creatures first crawled onto land. Without the moon, those tidal pulses would have been faint, perhaps too faint to spark life's grand experiments so soon. Would evolution have slowed, waiting millions more years for chance to play its hand? Now picture the night sky. With no moon to soften darkness, the heavens would blaze, fierce and cold. Stars would seem closer, sharper. But this beauty would be lonely. No familiar face watching over us. No silvery guide for early travelers. No calendar written in glowing phases. Human beings, if they appeared at all, would live under a sky that never changed its expression, only deepened into darkness. Would our ancestors have learned to mark time, to dream of rhythms and cycles? Would we have felt that deep, ancient pull to look up and wonder? And what of Earth's protection? In reality, the moon has been our shield, sweeping up stray asteroids and comets, taking the blows meant for us. Without it, Earth would have faced far more cosmic impacts over billions of years. A world pounded relentlessly by space debris would have been harder for fragile life to survive, let alone civilizations to grow. Even if humans somehow evolved, our history might have been repeatedly erased by giant collisions, resetting the clock on progress. Close your eyes and picture it. A world with no moonrise, no moonset, no silver glow on oceans. The nights are absolute, the silence profound. The earth spins quickly, tilts wildly, storms rage unpredictably, and ancient creatures struggle to find footing. Perhaps somewhere, strange forms of life flourish in deep oceans, untouched by surface chaos. But is there art? Is there music? Is there a hand to lift toward the stars in wonder? Maybe not. And yet, the absence of the moon does not mean the absence of mystery. Life has a way of finding cracks to grow through. Maybe intelligent beings would still have evolved, different from us, shaped by harsher winds and darker nights. Maybe they would not fear the dark, because the dark would be all they had ever known. Their myths might speak not of a glowing friend above, but of endless void, of stars as cold, unblinking eyes. Still, the question lingers. Would Earth, without its lunar companion, ever have been gentle enough, steady enough, to let minds like ours awaken? Science leans toward no. The moon gave Earth time, long, calm ages in which complexity could bloom. It held our planet steady so life could rise, so humans could gaze upward and, one day, wonder who they were. And so, in this thought experiment, you are not really here at all. The voice you're hearing, my voice, would not exist. No one would dream of space because no one would be alive to dream. The Earth would be a restless marble spinning through cosmic night, beautiful but barren, waiting for a future it might never reach. Yet that is not our world. Our world does have a moon. It hung above the first tide pools, above forests and deserts, above ships crossing unknown seas. It shines now, silver and calm, as if to remind us how rare and fragile this arrangement really is. The moon's steady presence whispers, "I have been here all along. I have kept watch. You were never alone." And so, as you breathe deeply and let your thoughts drift, hold on to this. The moon is not just scenery. It is part of your story, your existence, your every heartbeat. It made this world livable, made you possible. Yet here we are under its watchful glow, for now. But what is the moon really to us? Not just a satellite, but a silent friend. Let us pause and look at all it has given. There is a quiet presence above you, older than the mountains, older than the oceans, older even than the first trembling of life on land. You do not hear it move, yet it travels endlessly round and round, holding vigil as the world beneath it spins and sleeps. The moon does not speak. It has no voice, no wind across its plains, no rivers carving its face. Yet it speaks in another way, not in words, but in the tides that rise and fall like a breath, in the rhythm of nights and seasons, in the steady hand it lays upon the earth's restless axis. Without the moon, your world would be unrecognizable. Oceans would slosh in erratic fits, spilling inland one century, retreating the next. Winds would howl across a planet tipping and swaying like a toy top. 1,000 tiny changes would pile together into something enormous, a planet far less gentle to live on. But with it, balance holds. Its gravity tugs, softly but firmly, slowing Earth's spin, keeping its tilt steady, turning wild chaos into an ordered dance. Stand on a quiet beach at dusk. The tide touches your feet, then draws away, like a greeting whispered and withdrawn. You are watching the moon at work, though it hangs far above, pale in the evening sky. It moves entire oceans as easily as a child draws patterns in sand. Every wave remembers its pull. Every harbor feels its touch. Even the smallest tide pool, glimmering in moonlight, belongs to its rhythm. This silent companion does more than shape water. It steadies the very ground beneath you. Earth wobbles less because the moon's gravity anchors it, like a hand steadying a spinning wheel. That means your seasons are gentle and predictable. Your climate calm enough for forests to grow, for crops to ripen in cycles, for humanity to thrive. Without it, the axis could lurch, winters might freeze entire continents, and summers might scorch them. The moon holds back this chaos with no reward, no thanks, no sound at all. And it protects. Floating in the vast darkness, the moon is a shield of stone. Count the scars on its surface. Every crater is an impact Earth might have taken. The moon intercepts wayward rocks, cosmic debris, silent missiles wandering the solar system. It is a guardian you never asked for, but one that has watched over you since long before your species opened its eyes to the night sky. But perhaps its greatest gift is not scientific. It is something you feel when you walk outside at night and see it hanging there, silver and unbroken. For thousands of generations, humans have looked up at that same light. Poets and sailors, farmers and kings, all guided by its glow. It marked the months before calendars existed, lit paths before lanterns were made, watched over sleepers before cities glowed with electric suns. The moon has been humanity's lantern, compass, and clock. And more than that, it has been a companion. Children have whispered to it. Lovers have sworn by it. Wanderers have trusted it to guide them home. Even when hidden by clouds, its presence is certain. You know it will rise again, round or thin, waning or waxing, keeping time with a heartbeat older than human memory. Think of this now as you drift into calmness. The moon does not demand attention. It does not roar like the sun. It shines with a gentleness that asks for nothing and gives everything. Tides, stability, protection, and light enough to dream by. If you could hear it speak, it might say only, I am here. I have always been here. I will guide you still. It is a strange truth. A rock floating in cold space has shaped the story of life itself. It has written in water and wind the conditions that allowed creatures to rise, to walk, to wonder. It has slowed Earth's frantic spin to a steady rhythm, stretched days long enough for life to breathe and grow. It has lit the darkness so travelers might walk without fear. And it has stood as a cosmic friend, never asking for thanks, never faltering in its path. So when you see it tonight, do not see only a pale disk in the sky. See the tides lifting and falling, the seasons holding steady, the earth shielded from countless unseen blows. See the calm it has given your world. And perhaps, if you are quiet enough, you will feel a kind of gratitude rise with the tide. The moon is not a ruler, not a god, not even alive. But it is a companion silent, steadfast, and enduring. It does not speak, yet it guides oceans and hearts alike. It keeps watch while you dream, and when you wake, it will still be there, shining softly, asking nothing, giving everything. And so, as you close your eyes, imagine it above you, silver, constant, holding the earth in its gentle hands. Feel the stillness it gives, the order it lends to a restless planet. Let its calm seep into you, steady as the tides. For the moon is your companion in the truest sense. Not loud, not boastful, but faithful, keeping balance in a universe that does not often grant such kindness. Sleep now under its glow, silver and steadfast, as it has been for billions of years, and as it will be for billions more. The moon has watched us for all of human history. It has seen fires lit in caves, ships guided by starlight, cities glowing brighter than the stars themselves. And yet, it never asks for thanks. Above us, it drifts, steady, faithful, silent. It shapes the tides, balances our spinning world, shields us from wandering stones. It does not speak, yet its pull whispers through every wave and every heartbeat. If it were gone, the earth would wobble, oceans would rage, life itself would take a different course. But tonight it is there. Look up if the sky is clear. Even through clouds, you know it waits, silver and steadfast, holding our world in quiet harmony. So as you close your eyes, imagine its pale glow resting softly on forests, mountains, and seas. Let it remind you that even in the vastness of space, we are not alone. The universe has given us a guardian. If you found peace in this journey, share it. Let others drift to sleep beneath the same gentle light. And tomorrow night, when the moon rises again, you may see it with new wonder.